And welcome, space weather enthusiasts, to the Daily Space Weather. Thanks for stargazing with us here. We're looking at the past 24 hours of the closest star in ionized iron and carbon. That's 335 angstroms for the ionized iron, 1,600 angstroms for the ionized carbon. And all those bright regions that you see there, those are active sunspot-type regions that are much richer in those chemical ions. So ionized iron and ionized carbon depicted here. Let's take a look at some completely different wavelengths here. It's been pretty quiet, by the way, the past 24 hours. We still do have, a couple hundred sunspots, very high likelihood of solar flares, including large ones, coronal mass ejections, etc. Here's 304 plus 171 angstroms. And by the way, congratulations on realizing that the channel exists. And welcome to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. We do have lots of filaments, including the Getty Lee filament and a large filament down there in the southeast. That one you could call a crown prominence. It has been fairly securely anchored here. And here we've subtracted the 171 angstroms. That's just 304 angstroms ionized helium all by itself. Let's take a brief look here at sunspots while we are starting the video out. That is yesterday plus today. And we do have at least one new group that formed right down here, right in the almost in the center of the solar disk, slightly north of equator there. So a little bit of sunspot growth in that area. Oh, a new sunspot also formed out here. A new sunspot formed here. So guess what? You'll see another uptick in the sunspot number today. Here's your colorized magnetogram. Again, this depicts yesterday plus today. So you can expect at least 3 or 4 new named sunspot groups in the next 24 hours. Looks like the sunspot number is going over 200. And let's see what else is going on here. A quick moment to endorse our product. So on the homepage at smashomash.com, you may find the Smasho merch link. That'll send you to our Redbubble shop. And one of our latest designs is, well, it's a brand new word that was coined largely as a result of making these videos. Shartlight. Don't shartlight, folks. Please don't shartlight. It means failed attempts at gaslighting which damage your own credibility. So there are some space weather hack frauds. Now, of course, there are just regular noobs that don't know anything about space weather that are still covering it on YouTube. That's different than space weather grifter cult leading hack fraud space weather people whose forecasts never come true, and all they do is keep pivoting to make it sound like they're right the whole time about these ridiculous forecasts, these nonsensical prophecies of doom and so forth. It's just ridiculous. And a lot of these people are attempting to gaslight their audience. Every day, tens of thousands of people thanking these charlatans for just outright lying to them about what goes on in space. Space weather, yeah, it's a lot of hack frauds. And a lot of those hack frauds are shartlighting, which means failing at gaslighting. Check out the merch. You can also find our affiliate link below this video, hemplucid.com. Today's featured product is the mushroom products, featuring reishi, cordyceps, chaga, lion's mane, CBD, CBN, and other natural ingredients. You can get them in both gummies and stacks, so you can get stress, focus, sleep, and immune boost. Check those out. Save 10% on your checkout by entering the promo code SMASHOMASH. So any order at hemplucid.com will allow you to do that. Enter that promo code SMASHOMASH to save 10% on your checkout. All kinds of different great products there. They make great gifts. And if you're looking to make some small marginal gains or some tweaks in certain situations in your lifestyle, check them out. I'm a huge endorser of the Mushroom Focus Gummies. You can also find our Amazon shop on the homepage as well as below this video. Today's featured product is the Mind Reader Mobile Sit Stand. It's a height adjustable and tilt adjustable small computer desk. It's got a little spot there on the lower right for your tower. And of course, you can see that tilting table, two different tables there, one for your mouse or whatever you like there, a pad or whatever. Your tablet can go on that other tilting pad. That's actually Smash Staff's desk, and it's gone down like 31% in the past couple of years. Man, I should have waited, as I think I paid like $75 for Smash Staffs. Anyway, Amazon.com/shop/Smash-O-Mash is where you can find our Amazon affiliate shop. And also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, as many of the posts over there on Instagram are associated with the things from the Amazon shop. And let's take a look at what's going on planet Earth, and there's some interesting stuff indeed. Mount Ibu there, the lovely-looking Isle of Halmahera, Indonesia, has been erupting. There's a great image of that at 12:14. I don't know, Western Indonesia time. I have no idea what time that is, what time zone that is, and let's see what else is erupting here. So Mayan continues to erupt. It's now producing a 9,000-foot ash plume over Luzon Island, Philippines. Mount Ibu erupting, at 13:37. Yeah, 13:37 local time. It was a LEET volcanic explosion. It produced about an 8,000-foot plume of volcanic ash. Semeru also exploding, flight level 140 over East Java. Tukono exploding, flight level 070. That's a 7,000-foot ash plume over Halmahera. Nevado del Ruiz exploding in Colombia, flight level 200. Sangay exploding, flight level 200. Those are 20,000-foot ash plumes. Down to Peru, we've got Sabancaya and Ubinas. 21,000-foot ash plumes from each of those volcanoes as they explode. It's a flight level 210 in two different locations over Peru. Seismic activity has been pretty minor over the past 24 hours. A quick note that there has been an earthquake swarm in Alaska. So sometimes we see swarms of earthquakes that are warnings of a larger event about to happen. Perhaps that's what's going on there. Those are not large quakes. However, they could be foreshocks. Really, any earthquake can be a foreshock, including a large quake. Let's see what's been erupting in the past 24 hours. We'll mention quakes of a 5 magnitude or higher. 5.0 at the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. That was at 13:27. 10 minutes before 13:37. LEET time. That was at the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. And there's another one, a slightly larger event, a 5.1. A couple hours later there at the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Here's a pretty decent-sized quake, a 5.6 at Japan. That was at 17:39 Universal Time yesterday afternoon. Also a 5.6 at Tonga at 19:06, a 5.2 at the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. So possibly foreshocks happening there as we see those quakes getting larger at the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. 5.0, 5.1, 5.2. Let us know in the comments if you think there can be a tsunami generated in the Atlantic Ocean, or at least a damaging tsunami generated in the Atlantic Ocean. There's a 5.6 at the North Mid-Atlantic Ridge. And here's a 5.6 in the Pacific Ocean there. Near Fiji, Tonga, etc., north of New Zealand. That 5.6 occurred at 23:05 yesterday evening. 23:05 Universal Time. Also some small quakes in the Aleutian Islands. That is your list of quakes over a 5 magnitude, and it's time. Time to get back to space. Yes, space. A frontier. These are the voyages of the most comprehensive space weather videos and most detailed solar imagery you'll find in the known universe. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux, a super important feature for solar cycle progression, the most proportional data set that there is to the sunspot number, currently at 170 solar flux units. There is the 1-year graph of the radial flux depicted by that upper black line. The red line that's been crossing it as it's about to go over 200 is the sunspot number. So let us know in the comments if you think we're about to reach new peaks for solar activity, whether it's a sunspot number, radial flux, or other features. For Solar Cycle 25, we are quite sure that it is time for a breakout as more and more sunspots continue to form. You can expect another couple of exciting years at these levels or higher. about 10 months till solar maximum, perhaps something like that. Keep in mind, folks, really strong solar cycles are significantly shorter than really weak solar cycles, which are significantly longer. Anyway, space weather enthusiast dashboard here, not forecasting any geomagnetic storms or geomagnetic unrest. I tend to agree there is a possibility of a CME impact coming. And if you want to hear about that, watch yesterday's daily space weather video. That's why we put them out daily, to include complete information. So let's take a look at the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. That's our Geospace Magnetosphere movie. It depicts magnetohydrodynamic pressure. It's based on the space weather modeling framework, and if you want to read about where the variables come from that contribute to this model, head to the Geospace Magnetosphere movies page, scroll down to the details tab, click on that. There'll be a link to space weather modeling framework, and you can even download the software used to generate those models. Next, Earth's magnetic moment from the ground for the past 4 hours. It's our Geospace ground magnetic perturbations map. And we did have a CME impact late in the day yesterday, exactly as forecasted. It showed up a little bit earlier than expected, but right around in the right time frame. A little glancing blow, right on time, more accurate forecasting from the channel. That's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. Next, the KP index, or the planetary K index, currently at 2.67. Geomagnetically calm conditions. We did get a warning about KP4, but it never really materialized as the magnetic field weakened and swung into positive territory. Speaking of which, here is the real-time solar wind, and here is the coronal mass ejection impact that we talked about. So it was forecast on the channel. It just showed up a little bit earlier than expected. It was a little higher speed than we thought. There is the impact time. You can see a signal in the solar wind plasma temperature, in the solar wind speed, and in the solar wind density. Very little otherwise happening there. It was a very weak, diffuse CME impact. Barely a signal, but a significant signal nonetheless. An obvious one. This is what caused the warnings about KP4. We had a strong negative BZ there, but that quickly subsided. Current conditions are, again, geomagnetically calm. The BT is only 7. The BZ is positive 3. Solar wind density 7.37 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind density 466 kilometers per second. And let's move on to some magnetic data. Yeah, magnetic data. There are your GOES magnetometers. And they had to do some maneuvering there. You can see those arc jet moments. Those are caused by the GOES 16 and GOES 18's maneuvering thrusters. They use those to maintain their geosynchronous near equatorial orbit. And the plasma from the engines can cause magnetometer erroneous data to show up. That's why they show the arc jet moments. If you think they're hiding data, well, there it is. Not hidden. Next, the top view ecliptic plane field plot. And we've got this North Pole magnetism once again rotating around. And like we said yesterday, the sector boundary crossing has not arrived yet. So there is a north polar oriented heliospheric current sheet on the way. If we bring up the latest image, you can see that is just arriving at, it's just about to arrive at stereo A. Now keep in mind this data is over an hour old from when we produced the video. But there is a sector boundary crossing. By tomorrow's daily space weather video, we'll be in a North Pole current sheet depicted here in green. There's the north, there's the south. Sector boundary crossing coming in, well, it could come rapidly, but in several hours, I'll say maybe 6-8 hours, Earth should be in a North Pole current sheet. Here's our line of sight field plot, and you can see that sector boundary crossing depicted in the solar B field right here. You've got the South Pole current sheet over here, and North Pole current sheet rotating in over here on the east. Next, coronal holes. We've got some significant North Pole oriented coronal holes rotating in here. And let's take a look at those in our 211 angstroms wavelength. That is the past 24 hours from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. So the sector boundary crossing is right in here. South pole current sheet over here, North pole current sheet over here. And these, as a result, are all North Pole oriented coronal holes. So that's the situation with coronal holes. This one should produce a slightly enhanced solar wind here in a few days. It could be significant. It is a trans-equatorial coronal hole after all. So those are, of course, the most geo-effective type, the most likely to cause things like geomagnetic storm conditions. So fingers crossed on that. And let's move on to sunspots. Yeah, sunspots. There are lots. We're expecting like 3 or 4 new named groups to show up today. Enough said on that. There is the, look at the number of sunspots there on the list, getting as high as 16 different groups. So yeah, and we showed multiple sunspots that are likely to be now named today. We saw multiple new groups form there. So there is, that's yesterday plus today. Once again, the SDO continuum gray imagery. So let's see, there's one new sunspot that formed there. There's one new sunspot that formed down here. And one actually formed here. This plage now has sunspots in it. So yeah, 3 or 4 new named sunspot groups coming. Let's take a look at some more imagery here. There you go. There is 94 angstroms plus SDO continuum. We'll zoom in a little bit closer there to show you those active regions before we move to energetic particles and solar flares. Yowzers. That is a lot of sunspots. So as far as energetic particles, solar energetic particle events, or SEPs, none have been happening. Flaring has been kind of minimal here. We do have a background sea level X-ray flux, or at least high B level. So no major flares in the past 24 hours. In fact, we haven't seen an M-class flare since late in the day on the 22nd. So that's the flare situation. Here are our favorite wavelengths for flares from SDO. This is part of the extreme ultraviolet spectrum. 131 plus 94 angstroms both depict species of ionized iron. Different numbers of electron in the shells from those two. The 94 is like a green color, and the 131 is like a aqua color. That's the past 24 hours. Again, some underperformance here. We've got magnetically complex sunspot groups and so forth. There's the full disk zoom. And how about if we talk some more about space? Yes, space, a frontier. This is what's going on overhead Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Check it out. There's a crazy constellation up there known as Cygnus. It's an interesting part of the galaxy indeed. Did you know the sun is moving toward that star right there, Deneb? Yeah. The entire interstellar environment, all the local stars, are moving toward Deneb as they orbit the galactic core. Anyway, that's where things currently are. A quick reminder, if you have clear skies after dusk, take a look up. You'll see Venus, Mars, and the Moon up there on the ecliptic in the early evening sky. Here's your solar system forecast. That's where things are today. We try to be holistic with our approach to space weather. And if you think space is fake, make sure you let us know in the comments. And of course, if you think space is fake, please go outside on a clear night without light pollution and look up. You'll see these things, little points of light up there. Those are things like stars and planets and the moon and so on. Those are in space just like you. Here is your solar system forecast. That's where things will be on July 1st. Only 1 week away. By the way, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to press like and subscribe. Have you seen our shorts? They're a great way to share the content with people who have short attention spans. As you know, most of our videos have a tendency to be like 40, 50 minutes long like this one. There are a bunch of 15 and 30 second and 1 minute shorts that you can share with your friends and foes. It might get people interested in space weather. The shorts have become, shall we say, a bit popular. So check those out if you haven't. They're great for viewing on a mobile device, and they're great for people with 14-second attention spans. We'll convince them to watch for the full 15 seconds. Anyway, moving on to coronal mass ejections, and it's been underperforming for those as well. Surprisingly low number here for yesterday. That's yesterday's coronagraphs. 72 frames from George Mason University, and here are an additional 37 frames from today. Pretty weak as far as CMEs. Moving on to look at Soho Lasco C2 and C3. Coast is mostly clear there, and there are lots of filaments to do some ejecting, so the statistical probability of coronal mass ejections remains at just this side of 100%. Basically, it is 100%. Next, we'll show stereo A, just to show some additional data. There's stereo A on the left, and we show this diagram daily to show you where it's located. It's overtaking Earth. Stereo A is moving like this. Earth is moving slowly, more slowly like this, and stereo B is moving like this as they overtake each other. Anyway, there's the view from stereo A located on the left. Soho Lasco C3 on the right. You can see a nice CME on the 21st. And also some great activity on the early in the day on the 23rd. But in the past 24, pretty weak as far as CMEs. We're going to get the filaments next. First, let's show our custom coronagraphs. That's a 24-hour video featuring SDO 193 angstroms, Soho Lasco C2 in red, C3 in blue. And let's get a little closer. Again, surprisingly low number of coronal mass ejections and indeed solar flares in the past 24 hours. So this all just simply raises the base statistical probability, folks. It's like car accidents. If you haven't been in one in a long, long time, the base statistical probability actually goes up. Of course, that is affected by how you drive. That's the past 24 hours from SDO. Here's just 193 angstroms by itself. As the sector boundary crossing is almost here. So moving back to our stats here, let's look at filaments next. There are a lot of large filaments on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. Only one of them has a name. This one right here, that's the Getty Lee filament, named after the beloved Rush bassist slash vocalist slash sometimes songwriter slash keyboard player. I think I may have to name this one down here. What do you think? Bela Fleck? Les Claypool. What about the Les Claypool filament? Anyway, those are a lot of filaments. Likelihood of coronal mass ejections remains nearly 100%. Let's move on. To remind you to follow us on Twitter. If you do the social media thing, follow us on Twitter. It's where most of the activity happens. Keep in mind, Smash staff also handles our social media accounts. But Twitter is the one that I'm actually involved with. Twitter and Instagram are really where the most content is. I mean, we are all over the internet. See smashomash.com for details with all different social media sites that the content is posted daily. So make sure you view them on your favorite social media site. Press that share button and share to wherever you are ranting on social media. And thanks for leaving comments, Johnson. So here is the last about 2.5 hours from the GOES 18. Looks like there may be another active region rising both in the northeast and in the southeast as we see a bunch of large filaments up in those areas. Also, this filament down here, I think I may have to name it the Les Claypool. If nobody else names it, follow the hashtag #NameThatFilament on Twitter if you want to name filaments after your perhaps favorite or even perhaps least favorite people. Or did we already name that one the Fauci filament yesterday? I'm not really sure. Let's do our bonus feature segment. Satellite charging hazards, there are some minor ones there over the eastern Pacific. They're caused by low-energy electrons, which will build up on the outside of spacecraft. That's the situation. Minor surface charging hazards right there in the East Pacific. GOES electron flux here. Looks like it's subsiding. There's the 7-day graph. We had a little bit. Yeah, we're going to have lower levels, I believe, today than yesterday. We are still seeing the tail end of that CME impact, by the way. I don't think it's fully tailed off yet. There's the 1-year graph of the electron flux to put it in context for you. We're just in a moderate, reasonable range here for the relativistic electrons, which are measured at the F layer of the ionosphere. There is the forecast model. And you can expect the observation here to be pretty close to that forecast, which is represented by the green box. The observation is the yellow diamond. Let's look at the vibrational frequency of the F layer of the ionosphere, which is depicted right here by this red F. It's at around 300 kilometers of altitude. Here it is in megahertz. That's millions of vibrations per second. The vibrational frequency of the very diffuse gas way up there at about 300 kilometers of altitude, the bridge between Earth and space. We are seeing some significant anomalies here. And if they're not evident to you, that's okay. This is not the most common imagery to look at, but it does give us some insight into what's going on in the space weather environment, so we show it. Also, because you never know when old data may present itself as having predictive value. Yeah, predictive value. So there is the previous day in anomalygram that depicts anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. Some high-frequency anomalies there, steadily over North America. But mostly low-frequency anomalies there, the map containing quite a bit more red than blue. Again, there was a minor CME impact that has a tendency to puff up the ionosphere just a little bit, like an 80s hairdo, perhaps. And here's the latest image. That's 11:45 universal time ionogram and 11:45 universal time anomalygram. Total electron content is the next thing that we show daily in our bonus feature segments. Your GPS satellite's at about 12,500 miles of altitude. And here are the free electrons in between it and your handset. So significant nighttime GPS errors here once again occurring around the equatorial portion of the planet. Also some surprisingly far south high electron contents, despite it being winter in the southern hemisphere. That's your total electron content global view. Here's your total electron content anomaly from the 10-day average over North America. And there we see some significant high electron content anomalies popping up over the southern U.S. and Mexico. So right in there, let's actually bring this back for once. So there you see some high electron content anomalies. They're fairly fleeting. There's one right around the U.S.-Mexico border, actually. And there are some more popping up over Central America and southern Mexico. We'll play it through one more time, and then we'll show the latest sunspots and magnetic fields. So there is your latest intensitygram and your latest solar magnetogram. One other thing I would note, folks, is that this image and this image are depicting the photosphere, all right? When we talk about coronal holes and their magnetic fields, that is the solar atmosphere. There's a layer right in between there called the chromosphere. So just keep in mind that these magnetic fields are not the coronal hole magnetic fields. These are 2 layers below that at the solar surface. Coronal hole magnetic fields occur in the sun's atmosphere. They are completely different things. Anyway, there's the latest image. And let's just briefly take a little ride here because that's a new Sunspot group that should get a name today. So that's one. And then down here, I believe that one doesn't have a name yet, so there's two. Now if we go over here, there's another group right there. That'll get a name today. And this group down here. So there are 4 new named Sunspot groups. Sunspot number is going to go over 200 today. That is imminent. That's not even a forecast. That's just an observation of what's currently going on. And let's do some wave chasing, since we've concluded our solar observations. Largest waves in the world here are right near the shore of Antarctica. Doesn't look like the best place to surf, as there is, of course, sea ice right there. Those are the world's largest waves, only about 30 footers. It's pretty calm in the world's oceans. That depicts significant wave height as well as surface winds. So pretty calm seas around the planet today. Of course, there is a tropical system down here, and it's looking weak as forecast. Anyway, it's time to return to our regularly scheduled meteorology. So here we're going to start with the western world today. There are the surface winds of this side of the planet. Here are the jet streams. A little more coherent over the U.S. here, although there is still a huge divergence right around the north-central U.S. there, and then a convergence in the North Atlantic. Here are the jet streams of Oceania and the Far East. Here are the surface winds. Surface winds of the central world. And there are the jet streams. Continuing right along to take a look at pressure here in the tropical Atlantic Ocean. There's the pressure situation. Again, you can see this system just broke up. It's barely even a low anymore. It ended up farther south than the GFS model forecasted it. This is forecasted to head up this way and basically miss all of these islands. Let's zoom out to the full pressure map. And there's what's going on. Large pressure gradients here south of Australia. That's from windy.com, by the way. And here's the clouds and fog scenario over the western world. We're showing the 3.9 micrometer infrared radiation map. They're part of the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite. Looks like some heavy rains just hit Texas. Anyway, there is your weather.gov map. If your location is lit up, head to weather.gov and click your county or your location in the ocean, wherever you happen to be. If you're lit, if your location is lit, click your location at weather.gov. Excessive heat warnings there for a large portion of the southern U.S. Also some air quality alerts because of smoke. And there is your smoke map. So that is, by the way, that's firesmoke.ca. Firesmoke.ca is the domain for that. You can see smoke's going to make it all the way down to Arkansas. So that is your smoke forecast. Please pay attention to the time and date stamps in the lower left. Let's move on to some additional weather forecasts here. Temperature anomaly is first. So that's your temperature anomaly forecast because we've got some extreme high temperatures, especially in Texas. Going to be seeing temperatures here of like 16 degrees Celsius above normal. That's your 72-hour GFS temperature anomaly forecast in degrees Celsius. Next, pressure and precipitation. So the main feature here is a very strong low that is currently developing over South Dakota. And it's going to kind of linger there, and it's going to move almost due east right toward the Great Lakes. And then it's going to re-intensify right around Lake Michigan. So it's going to be spinning off some severe weather as it does this. Also some heavy weather there for West Tennessee. That system is going to move south. So the jet stream is going to get funky again. Let's do a forecast for that as well while we're here. There's your 72-hour GFS jet stream forecast depicting the 250 millibar winds. Another big kink forming there in the jet stream, and that's going to help allow those systems to move almost due north to south. That's your 72-hour GFS jet stream forecast. Next, your lightning mapper. Again, you can see some severe thunderstorms there over especially Nebraska and South Dakota there, now moving across Iowa and Minnesota, soon to strike Illinois, Michigan, the Great Lakes, and Wisconsin. Next, a real-time lightning map, but first, did you know about our mission? We're in the process of founding a nonprofit organization, so we've got a separate mission for smashomash.org. We put up a post on the Smash Team site, so check that out if you haven't. Please support the channel via links on our homepage at smashomash.com. It was launched back in 2019. And welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Please visit our links. Please support the channel via all of these different features. It's only going to get better and more complex and more interesting content as time goes on. We've barely gotten started making content for this channel. Smashomash.com is the homepage. The official subscription services site is smashomash.com/smashteam. If you click this posts button up here, that's going to show you the latest posts. You can see the post about our new science foundation that is about to have the paperwork submitted for its formation. We've already decided on the board and so on, so it's all ready to go, folks. Thanks to everybody who's contributed to the channel, whether it's by pressing like, share, subscribe, leaving a comment, etc. Again, welcome to the Renaissance. If you want to support the channel via subscription services, do so at the Smash Team site. We built our own because we needed additional capabilities not offered by other paywalls. So smashomash.com/smashteam. You'll find links below the video and on the homepage to the Smash Team site to that. Join at the gold or silver level especially. There's even a bronze level there. Thanks to our gold and silver Smash Team level members, these videos are brought to you in part by their monetary contributions. Here's a U.S. Doppler radar map. It depicts vertical motion in the air column. That's the full 50-state view. We'll focus on the lower 48 view. So that's what's going on. You can see strong storms here about to hit Minneapolis. Here's clouds and fog. And there is the water vapor map. A lot of dry air here over the southern part of the U.S. So it looks like clear skies over New Mexico today. Let's see if I'm right. Oh, indeed I am. Yes, high pressure. Understanding atmospheric physics means you can forecast weather. Understanding astrophysics means you can forecast space weather. Otherwise, not so much. Anyway, here's your recap. U.S. Doppler radar. Clouds and fog in 3.9 micrometer infrared radiation and water vapor in 6.19 micrometer infrared radiation. So, hey everybody, thanks for tuning into the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. We gotta shut this video down because it's time to go back to the bunker because I am spooked. Thanks for all the disinformation, Big Tech. Bye. Whoa.